Hello everyone, it's another top 10 video here today. I'm going to do it in a similar format to I did yesterday, where basically I'll pick 10 games from my collection that fulfill a certain criteria which I'll set up, and I'll also put one game in there as well, an 11th game which is the opposite of my argument. So yesterday it was underrated games, and I had a overrated game as my extra. Today I will have, I'll have a bad example. So the main subject of this video are two things that are kind of close to my heart really: shoot 'em ups and artwork. So it's my top 10 shoot 'em up covers basically. And I've actually put them in rank order, which I didn't do yesterday as well. So the last one I'm going to show you is going to be the best cover that I think. I know that for a lot of you that kind of watch these videos, when buying a game, artwork's an important part of the whole package. I've got games here where I've actually I can never play them because of the language barrier, but they've got great covers. And I'd buy them just to purely look at the artwork and admire the artwork, and have it in my collection so I can actually have a look at it. Which is, it's counterproductive to actually, what you're supposed to do with games. You are supposed to play them. But yeah, a lot of Japanese releases have got the most amazing artwork. In fact, you'll probably find that most of the titles in my top 10 are Japanese titles. It's not to say that that all Japanese releases are nicer than the Western ones, but the majority of them are, in my opinion, and that's all down to just a personal taste. So I'll stop waffling, or we'll have another 20-odd minute video here and crack on. I'll tell you about some near misses to start off with. Ikaruga PAL release was a close call. There we go. Yeah, just because, unlike the the Japanese version, which has got basically the same cover art, it's quite small and quite compact, and you don't really appreciate the kind of artwork there. It's with Ikaruga, it's more about the size of the canvas, to be honest. I mean, it is a slightly different. Let's have a look. It's a slightly different cut than the Japanese version, but it seems to be more focused on the ship and the kind of the nice part of the actual painting itself. So that nearly made it into the top 10. The UK PAL release of Super R-Type as well, that nearly made it in because it's Japanese artwork. It's very interesting artwork. In fact, I'll pull it down now. It's just I've not got a very good kind of example of it. Just because my copy is a bit tatty, that's all, and yeah, it doesn't show the game necessarily in its best light. But I really like the kind of the chunky, almost like comic adaptation of the R9 fighter in that cover, and I think it's just so much nicer than the Japanese version. And I know it's controversial to say that, but it's true. For me, they kind of botched up the artwork by putting all this kind of purple crap on the cover that's just, it looks like someone's actually just put felt tip pen on the actual box itself, when it's not. It's part of the artwork, and it spoils it for me. So we'll start off with if we do it in rank order, we'll start off with the 10th best cover art in my opinion. And there we go, it's Flanks on the Super Nintendo. I think you'll agree that old man on there looks quite tasty, and no, I'm only kidding. This is my 11th example. This is the bad example. This is the opposite of the good cover. I mean, it's so bad it's good, but it's not. It's just ridiculous that they ever put this on the cover of a shoot 'em up. And it's the US release. Of Flanks, and it's just bloody awful. What possessed them? So we'll get down to the kind of the top 10 proper. So my choice at number 10. I'll not go through them and go, this is my number 9, this is my number 8. I'll start off with 10 and finish with 1. So there we go. We've got Salamander there in the PC Engine. Now, this cover doesn't necessarily have to be the PC Engine version. Any kind of the versions that have got that cover on is absolutely ace. Just because this was one of the first games when I saw advertisements for it, and I saw arcade flyers for this at the time as well, and that was the first kind of cover that I saw for a shoot 'em up that absolutely just blew me away. That I thought was amazing. Yeah, just because of that great big kind of like, yeah, snake head on there, or salamander, or whatever it is, but it's very kind of like it's 1980s, really kind of like nice production artwork on there as well. Not amazingly complicated. There isn't a ship on there either, but it's just the cool kind of like alien head that's on there that I really like. Okay, then now next one is Japanese release of, there we go, Mars Matrix on the there we go, on the DC. Yeah, I know we're just going to talk about kind of cover art, but the artwork inside this is amazing. It's very good for such a game that's kind of like regarded as being, you know, one of the ugliest shoot 'em ups that's ever kind of like graced a console. The artwork's great, and I like it the same way that you know, I like Designer Republic stuff in Wipeout. It's just kind of really kind of nicely designed. There's lots of little kind of embellishments in there. There's little kind of like little ship designs in the background of the design there, and it's just that kind of like, it looks really futuristic, and there's lots of little, you know, extra bits of almost over design in there as well, and you get the feeling of kind of like the speed of the ship as well, of both the ships actually. I just think it's a really nice cover. It's nice and bright as well. A lot of these shoot 'em up covers are kind of quite dark and brooding, but this is yeah, so it certainly uses the colour palette well. Okay, next game I'm going to show you, there we go, Japanese release of Last Resort. It's funny because the American and the English versions of this were kind of quite botched cover wise. It kind of like, you know, it's quite kind of chopped off. It's not botched because that's unfair to say, but the artwork's kind of quite, it's cut down in comparison. Yeah, I mean, it's the ships from the game. It's just got really nice design. There we go. Right. Yeah, I could have filled this kind of full of Mega Drive and DC shoot 'em up covers, to be honest, because they've both got some amazing examples. But I will. This one might be a bit controversial because it's quite a new game, and you know, it's not a game that's particularly loved, to be honest. But I love the artwork on it, and there we go. It's Last Hope. It doesn't have to necessarily be the Pink Bullets version either, because I think they've both got great cover art. I like the cover art because it reminds me of you know, of a proper kind of SNK cover. It's painted in that respect. It's old school, you know. There's not too kind of digital in it, but it's kind of like that whole biomechanical thing. If you like your Geiger, I think it's a great cover. It's just really dark and just you know, really intimidating, and just, you know, really great cover art. I'll stick some photos of these on at the end of the video, just so you can kind of like have a look at the artwork yourselves. Next game, another DC game. There we go. Cyvaria 2. Lovely artwork on that one. Great big, powerful looking robot in front of, you know, in front of a planet. What more do you want? really nicely executed. A great game as well. So that's my next choice. Yeah, possibly the best thing about this game is the artwork, to be honest. It's Curse on the Mega Drive. I remember the first time I saw this, absolutely striking cover. And I didn't buy the game for a long time just because the prices of it were just a bit daft for a game that is average at best. And you know, it's not great, but again, another kind of like biomechanical cover. This is actually one of the bosses in the game as well, but it's lovely, kind of like, you know, grotesque, over the top artwork that you wouldn't actually, you'd never get that on a release in this country. There'd be kind of like, you know, outcry in the newspapers, not nowadays, but would have been when it was released. Sorry. So yeah, that's in the list as well. Right, so I'm down to the last 4 now. When you see the top 3, you'll kind of understand why I've put this in the position where I have. There we go. Gunhead. Absolutely iconic game. For me, this is synonymous with the PC Engine. First time I saw the PC Engine, this was one of the games that I saw first. And this artwork, and you know, I associated the great things that, you know, about the PC Engine with this release and this artwork. It's like a lot of people talk about the cover for, you know, Striders being an example of, you know, how amazing Japanese artwork is. I think this is on a par. I honestly do. For me, it's an icon of Japanese gaming as well. Just really nice design. You've got kind of like, you know, vehicle schematics in the background. It's almost done like you know, in a sense, it's an advertising billboard rather than or you know, a piece of graphic design rather than necessarily a piece of artwork. But there is art in there as well, and you've got the main ship. So yeah, you know, legendary game, legendary cover as well. If I could blow that up and put that on my wall, I really would. The wife won't have any of it, but you know, that's me, complete geek. So we get to this late stage in the game, and we get to our first cave cover, which is probably quite surprising considering the kind of like track record of you know, of great cover art that Cave have got. So this is a, you know, this is a piece of artwork on the front of here that's kind of like really rising in my estimation. You know, recently I've always quite liked it, but there we go. Ibarra. Yeah, I've always liked it, but you know, it's just, you know, a great piece of artwork. Really kind of like nice, kind of like subdued colours in this one. Lots of kind of like, you know, kind of really nice textures. It's just really well painted. Is the artwork, and you know, I mean, the artwork in the manual is just it's just stunning and very different for a shoot 'em up as well, and quite beautiful as well. And I mean, there are actually no ships in this, no kind of like, you know, hints of you know, of weapons, of, you know, of necessarily of the story of the game. But it's just great cover art. Right, we're on to the last 2 now, and for years this has been my favourite cover art. And I know a few of you have actually got the original poster for this, and I'm very envious. I can't justify forking out the money to buy the official version of this, but it's just gorgeous, and it's there we go. Dodonpachi Daioju on the PlayStation 2. The official Cave poster of this is exactly the same, and it's just a striking piece of artwork. You've got the kind of great big ship in there. You've got kind of like the little lass that's kind of plugged into this ship, and they're kind of like out in the desert, and it's just, you know, really nicely painted, and just a very striking image for a shoot 'em up. So that's number 2. So now we're on to the final one. Number 1 might be a bit of a surprise for the lot of you. And it's a game that probably not a lot of people won't have, because it's a Jap only release, and it's there we go, Senko no Rond Duo limited edition. So yeah, this is the cover, the outer cover that you only get on a limited edition. Standard edition for me, whilst being quite nice, is it's not spectacular, but the limited edition artwork, it's just absolutely stunning. It's kind of Art Nouveau, and it's almost like a bit of a montage of different mediums almost, because some of the characters look very kind of anime, but it's in this wonderful kind of like 1920s kind of feel. I got a bit arty then, didn't I? But it's just absolutely stunning, and it has something, I don't know, it's just that fusion between something that's very, very European and something that's Japanese. It's lovely, and the game itself it's not the greatest shoot 'em up out there. You either love them or hate them. I think the Senko no Ron series is a great series, but it's not everyone's cup of tea. And there's certainly games on this, this top 10 that I think are better games, but purely for cover art, absolutely stunning. And yeah, I could get away with this on my wall. My wife would be happy with seeing that, so I'd be okay. But that's my top 10. Yeah, it might be a bit unconventional. I'm not really talking about gaming. I'm talking about the artwork on games there. But yeah, that's my top 10 anyway. Again, as usual, if you've got any thoughts, I'd really like to hear them. And yeah, I think that's probably it for this video. I'll have to think of something else for tomorrow. But as always, it's all about the spam cards, and I will see you later. Goodbye.